Have you ever stopped to think that a simple plant could hold some really profound wisdom? Well, today we're going to look at one that absolutely does, the Bonanza Peach. It's this tiny tree with a huge story to tell about what abundance really means. Okay, let's get into it. So at first glance, you might not even notice it. It's a dwarf tree, right? Small enough to fit on a patio. It seems pretty humble, almost ordinary, kind of like any other plant you'd pick up at a nursery. And then you hear its name, Bonanza. I mean, that's a word we connect with hitting the jackpot, right? A sudden windfall, a massive stroke of luck. It's a huge promise for such a tiny little package. And that creates this fascinating tension, doesn't it? It's a paradox that's really at the heart of what we're exploring today. So, what in the world can this tiny tree possibly teach us about the nature of true, overflowing abundance? Well, let's find out. All right, first things first, we have to start with that name, Bonanza. It's not just some random label, it's a mission statement. So let's really unpack the meaning behind it. So the word bonanza actually comes from Spanish. Originally, it just meant fair weather, a huge gift for sailors after a storm. But over time, it evolved to mean a sudden, almost miraculous discovery of wealth. It's a kind of prosperity that feels like a gift, not just something you earned through sheer grit. And that right there just perfectly captures the core idea from our source. The tree's bonanza isn't just chaotic luck. No, it's the fulfillment of a hidden, intentional process. This kind of abundance doesn't contradict the natural order of things. It's the beautiful, intended result of it. Okay, so let's see how this plays out in the tree's actual biology. This section is really a study in pure efficiency, looking at the botanical reality of the bonanza peach. I mean, just look at this. This tree is a true genetic dwarf. It's only going to get about 5 or 6 feet tall max. But notice the fruit. It's full-sized, delicious, and there's a ton of it. Its small stature is totally deceptive. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. A standard peach tree spends years and a ton of energy just growing tall, trying to dominate the space and get sunlight. But the bonanza? Nope. It redirects all of that energy, it stays small on purpose, and focuses everything on one thing, making fruit and doing it fast. So the big takeaway here is that its very biology is a lesson. It's like it's preaching this quiet sermon, showing us a kind of efficient generosity. It teaches us that making a big impact isn't always about being the biggest or the loudest. You can have a small stature and still be seriously, seriously fruitful. But this fruitfulness isn't a constant all-the-time thing. Not at all. It follows a very strict rhythm. So let's look at the wisdom that's baked right into its annual cycle. The tree's life is basically a disciplined 4-act play. It starts with a required winter rest. Then it just explodes into this beautiful but brief spring bloom. Then comes the summer of abundance. And finally, it has to accept a necessary loss in the fall to get ready for the future. And that first step, the winter rest, is absolutely crucial. Without a period of cold, a period of dormancy, the tree literally cannot produce good fruit. And what a powerful idea that is. The rest isn't a bug, it's a feature. Rest actually enables the sweetness to come. Those waiting seasons are never wasted seasons. And then after that rest comes the reward, this extravagant explosion of blossoms. But it's fleeting. This whole display is fragile, and it doesn't last long. And that's its own lesson, right? About appreciating beauty while it's here. But all of this leads us to the most counterintuitive, almost shocking part of the bonanza story, the paradox of pruning. This is where a blessing can actually become a burden. This is the ultimate test of the tree's abundance. It is so good at what it does, so generous with its fruit, that it creates a whole new problem. What do you do when a blessing becomes just too heavy to carry? And I mean that literally. If you just let this tree go, it will produce so many peaches that their sheer weight will snap its own branches. Its own incredible gift of fruitfulness can end up destroying it. This forces a practice that the source calls wise abundance. It means a caretaker has to go in and intentionally remove perfectly good, healthy little peaches. It feels totally wrong, but it's an act of care. You're not creating scarcity, you're making sure the fruit that's left can become the best it can possibly be, and that the tree survives to do it all again next year. And the source connects this directly to that powerful agricultural metaphor from the Gospel of John. The idea that pruning isn't a punishment for a fruitful branch, it's the way you make it even more fruitful. It's a clear sign of care, not rejection. So, when we put all these pieces together, the Bonanza Peach really becomes more than just a plant. It's a living parable. Let's tie all these lessons together. I mean, this tiny tree just offers so many layers of truth. That true abundance is generous, not stingy. That small things, small vessels, can serve great purposes. That those waiting seasons are never wasted. And, so importantly, that pruning is a sign of loving care, making sure a blessing is intentional and sustainable, not reckless and destructive. And unlike those massive orchard trees, all of this goodness is right there, within arm's reach. Its accessibility is part of the lesson. It invites us to pay close attention, to be grateful for the provision that we can actually see and touch. So what's the ultimate secret of the Bonanza Peach? Well, it's a quiet contradiction to our world's logic of bigger, faster, more. Instead, this little tree shows us a deeper truth, that real, sustainable abundance flows best not through raw ambition, but through humility, patience, and the wisdom of faithful care.